What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Playmakers Corner podcast. This is episode 252 here, week 9 here in this 2023 season for NAIA women's flag football. So this is your week 9 recap here. Per usual, we got some good games to recap. We're going to recap all of the games from this last week of football. And then as well, we are also going to talk about power rankings if there are any changes. And then also talk Playmaker of the week here. No updates for end of the year awards. For now, they'll stay the same. Every other episode will begin to kind of shorten that list as we get down to the finalists as we approach the end of that season. But without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about the first game here. University of St. Mary versus Cottey. So going into this one, this would be their second matchup of the season. They played earlier on where Cottey would actually defeat St. Mary for the first time in program history, 26-6. Now they meet up here in Kansas this time. So let's just go ahead and hop into this one. This might be a little bit of a shorter one here, but basically St. Mary the Spires, they start out on offense, and they do get a first down off an NAIA hook scramble left. But eventually the drive does fizzle out. Just a couple incompletions here and short plays would force them to go ahead and punt it. Now Cottey, they would go ahead and get straight to business here. Amaya Karula, the freshman in at quarterback, finds Shea Measley on 2 straight passes, one on a drag route that will get them the first down. And then the second time would be on an out route, which would get them past midfield here. And so there you go there. Now, she would actually find her a third time in a row, but that would only put her in position to go ahead and get this first down in the red zone. Karula taking it herself here, she would go ahead and throw the out route to, I want to say it was Jolia Johnson, to go ahead and then put them in the red zone. And so that's where we are here in the red zone. A couple plays later, third down, Karula throws the corner out to a wide open Jolia Johnson. Just a good throw and route here by this duo. And that goes for a touchdown for Cottey to make it 6-0. The extra point is dropped, so it stays there. Now, St. Mary this time, they are not able to get a first down. In fact, they come up short, and so they have to go 3 and out here. Came up short on a couple run plays, it looks like. So, there you go. Cottey, on the other hand, takes over, and they keep it going here near midfield. Not past it yet, but just near midfield. Karula takes a shot to the sideline and finds Daniela Goodrich on the corner route, and Goodrich makes an excellent catch here, just rising up and making a good catch for about 20 yards. That's a first down. Following that, Karula scrambles left and gets another first down in a row to put them in the red zone. Now Cottey, they do get a couple good plays here to get them right up within 5 yards of the end zone here, but it does come down to a fourth down, and on fourth down, Karula, under pressure, tries to throw it on the run, but it is incomplete, and so that is a turnover on downs. But right after that, on the direct next play here, St. Mary with the football, they do snap it to NAIA hooks. It looks like she's trying to pass it, but Carrie Cloyd would go ahead and get a big sack for Cottey here and a safety. So just like that, they go up 8-0, and they also get the ball back. And so with the ball back here, trying to extend their lead, let's go ahead and fast forward to the second quarter. In the second quarter, Cottey having really good success on offense early on here. 2 third down plays come down to 2 Emma Bruce checkdowns, and so that results in first downs that would eventually get them past midfield and into the red zone. But once they got into the red zone here, Karula tried to throw it to the back of the end zone, but Jerica Johnson just makes an excellent interception here. Great hands to end that drive, but once more St. Mary just not able to get anything going on offense here. Part of it is because this Cottey defense is playing really well, getting pressure here and playing the runs really well here, not allowing too many yards, and so eventually the Spires got to punt it. And so once they punt it, Cottey, they would get the ball, and it would start out pretty promising here. Kurula would go ahead and scramble past the midfield and a first down, but eventually a huge sack by Sable Barnes of the Spires would go ahead and make it fourth down and would basically end this drive here. Actually, I believe that happened on fourth down, so that would end the drive. But literally right after that, first play for the Spires, Hooks tries to throw it over the middle, just not a great play here, and it gets tipped up. It looks like Kenzie Murdoch was about to intercept it, but then basically Daniela Goodrich kind of came out of nowhere and basically just took it from her. Maybe she thought that it was about to be dropped or something like that. Either way, it's an interception, and they basically start in the red zone once again here. They start short of the red zone, but they would get in the red zone thanks to a slant to Joliet Johnson. And so once there, let's fast forward to play second down. Kurula lofts one on a deep dig route here, finds the late window to Daniela Goodrich, who goes ahead and makes the 14-0 lead. Extra point is good on the drag route to make it 15-0. Now, I want to say it's either second or third down for the Spires on the following drive here. A short pass is tipped up. It's kind of low, and so the receiver tries to dive, but it gets tipped up into the air, and it is intercepted by Shay Measley. And not only does she intercept it, but she brings it to the house for a touchdown to make it 21-0. That basically puts this thing away here. Cottey would hold USM out of the end zone, stop them from scoring, and they would drive down the field a couple times here, mostly near the end of the game, but just couldn't find anything. And so Cottey would end up winning this thing 27-0 here. The last touchdown would be in the fourth, where Maya Kurula finds Shay Measley to make it 27-0. And so there you go. Cottey takes care of business once more, 27-0. Player of the game, I think I gotta go Carrie Cloyd for this one here. I mean, she was on top of it. She applied constant pressure, stopped a lot of short runs, and just really made things difficult for this St. Mary offense here. Now, St. Mary, I mean, the struggles continue here. They haven't won a game. We'll see what happens moving forward. I think their next best bet at winning a game will be not this Saturday, but not last Saturday, I guess, but the next Saturday against Bethel here, who they haven't played yet. But just a really tough season for them offensively. They've struggled here, averaging less than a touchdown a game, and so we'll see what happens moving forward for them. For Cottey, I believe this is the first time. Regardless, it's the first time they've beat a conference opponent twice, and this is also the first time they've beat two conference opponents twice, as they beat Bethel, and then they also beat St. Mary here, so obviously love to see the improvement from Cottey, getting it done, getting back on track. Next up for them, they do play Midland. Alright, now let's go on and move to the next game here. Let's actually skip to the Friday games. I'll come back to the one Thursday game, but I want to talk about this April 14th matchup. St. Thomas versus Thomas here. They met at the very beginning of the season here. I believe it was Thomas's first game, and that was, I believe, the last game that Julianne Yolkowski started for St. Thomas, and then after that she did get benched, and so technically this is kind of a different St. Thomas squad that they are facing. It is Holly Neer at quarterback. Since then, Thomas has been on a heat streak, and since that game, I believe that was the only game where Thomas has allowed a team to score multiple touchdowns on them. Other than that, everyone else has either been shut out or held to maybe a score, but let's go ahead and hop into it. To start this game here, St. Thomas went on offense. And let's go ahead and fast forward to third down. Holly Neer would go ahead and find Dominique Parks on the out route to go ahead and get the first down of this game. But high incompletion pass here, and then a diving pass deflection by Aaliyah would bring up a third down situation. And on third down, Holly Neer takes a shot over the top on the post to Jada Graham. She's in one-on-one. This looks like a skinny post to me, as she basically just completely avoids the safety on this one and just gets a step and brings in a nice throw from Holly Neer right on the money in stride for a 54-yard touchdown. St. Thomas takes the early 6-0 lead. Now on the extra point, Holly Neer would get sacked by Jada Reese. Still though, St. Thomas will take that lead. Now for Thomas here, looking to respond back after that huge play on offense. Alexa Wilson at quarterback goes ahead and finds Kiana Okole on the out route for a first down. But let's go ahead and fast forward to third down here. Third down, Wilson under pressure by NAIA Leon. She is forced to check down to Kiana Okole, who is stopped short there. Now, she was forced to throw the check down, but it looked like there was a receiver that maybe wasn't ready for the play to happen. And, I mean, she rolled out her way and she wasn't ready, so she was forced to throw the check down there. And so that's a tough miscommunication, and that results in a punt. St. Thomas gets it, but they go a pretty quick 3-and-out. Pass deflections by Nakara Brown and Kiara Knight would be key in that drive. And so here we go, Thomas with the ball back, looking to at least tie this game here. Let's go ahead and go to second down. Wilson goes deep to Aaliyah Wood on the corner route, and it is swatted by a St. Thomas safety, but well, I shouldn't say swatted. It kind of gets tipped up in the air and then lands in Aaliyah Wood's hands here. And she brings it in for a big play of about 15 or so. That's a first down past midfield. Following that, Wilson goes back to Wood on the out route, who looks like she thought she got her flag pulled, and so did the St. Thomas defense, before she realizes it isn't and goes ahead and jukes the defender and goes and gets the first down here in the red zone. Now let's go fast forward into the second quarter. It is third down in the red zone for Thomas. Wilson rolls out right, pump fakes a couple of times before trying to squeeze it into a really tough window, but Rayona Baker is there, so that does bring up fourth down. And on fourth down, Alexa Wilson drops back, throws the fade to the veteran Brittany Delva, and she makes a strong catch on the sideline to tie this game up 6-6. Now they go ahead and put in Kiana Okole at quarterback per usual. She tries to throw the out route to Margarita Pena, but this one is knocked down, so it stays at 6 as St. Thomas gets the ball back. Now following that, St. Thomas, they get the ball looking to get something going here, but unfortunately they do go 3-and-out here. A couple of short gains just don't really amount to much here, and so that helps in that 3-and-out. So Thomas does get the ball back with a chance to go ahead and take a lead here, but fast forwarding to third down here, Wilson tries to go deep on the post route here, but Tashumba Washington makes an excellent deflection. It looked like the receiver might have a step on her, but Washington just does a good job knocking this one down, forcing fourth down. And on fourth down, Wilson once more tries to go deep, but it looks like there is some sort of miscommunication again between her and her receiver, and so it's incomplete, and that's a turnover on downs. And so just like that, St. Thomas gets the ball back here, still locked at 6-6. Near throws the post to Jada Graham, who makes a tough possession catch over the incoming safety. You kind of saw the safety creeping up, and look, she broke really hard to the football, but Jada Graham, just being very aware, goes ahead and makes a tough possession catch here to give them a first down past midfield. That goes for about 20 yards. Moving on to third down, though, Neher once more under pressure by Jada Reese, forced to scramble and gets only 2 yards. That brings up 4th and 7. And on fourth down, Holly Neher throws it deep, but it is intercepted by Kiara Knight, who wins the jump ball, and it looks like she's tackled, and so that's a penalty on St. Thomas, which will move them up 10 yards here. Maybe not the best pass to intercept. She probably could have knocked it down and they'd be in better field positioning. Instead, they are kind of in that first quadrant of the field. Regardless, though, Thomas takes over, and here we go. Alexa Wilson just goes ahead and scrambles and gets the first down there. Following that, we go to third down here. Wilson tries to throw it, but once more it is incomplete, just off the mark. And she was only able to get about 10 yards on the two other plays, and so Thomas once more is forced to punt it. And so St. Thomas to get the ball back here, and let's fast forward to second down here. Hollinier drops back and throws the skinny post deep to Tashumba Washington, who once more is one-on-one here, and she gets a step and brings in this throw in stride. So just a great throw by Hollinier. That's 47 yards to the house to make it 12-6 here. Following that on the extra point, Neer goes over the middle and finds Kaylee Miller to make it 13-6. So that is big time for St. Thomas to take this lead. By the time Thomas gets the ball back, there's about 30 seconds, maybe a little bit less than that left here in this first half. And so Thomas looking to get something going with the limited time here. Wilson throws it out to Delva. That's good for a first down. Following a couple plays later, let's go to second down here, or a play later, it's second down. Wilson tries to go deep. It just hangs in the air just too much here into Tashumba Washington. Intercepts it, and she is returning this one, and she gets a full head of steam here, making a couple defenders miss, and she has one more defender to slip before she potentially houses this one, but she is stopped just short, and so that'll end a pretty explosive first half here for St. Thomas, as they do have a pretty nice 13-6 lead at the moment. Now, Thomas, they do get the ball back going into the third quarter, and so let's go ahead and hop into that here. Going to 3rd and 5 here. Wilson hits Kiara Knight on the out route. That would give them the first down to keep this thing going. But once more, Thomas is forced in a third down situation after a couple of checkdowns to Kiana Cole. And on third down, Wilson forced left by NAIA Leon. She goes ahead and throws it, Wilson that is, but it is dropped by her receiver. Couldn't see who it was. And so that brings up fourth down, and once more Thomas decides to punt it here. Now, St. Thomas, they get the ball. They have a chance to go up by 2 scores, but it does come down to a third down situation. And on third down, Hollinier tries to go over the middle to Jada Graham, but Kiara Knight is there to make a pretty clutch incompletion, or force it incomplete, as St. Thomas basically goes 3 and out. And so following that, Thomas goes ahead and makes a change here at quarterback, and they put in Kiana Cole. Now, usually she's kind of their short yardage quarterback and whatnot. She's more of a situation type of quarterback, I'd say, but at this point, Thomas just needs a little bit more here from the quarterback position and a little bit more mobility as well, as St. Thomas is bringing the pressure. And so Kiana Cole now in at quarterback. You also tag on a personal foul on St. Thomas here. I believe that was on the return. That starts Thomas in the red zone with a first down. And so Cole in at quarterback tries to throw it to Margarita Pena, but it's dropped. That brings up second. On second, Cole rolls left and finds Giselle Jones for a short catch. That goes for about 5. Third down here in the red zone. Cole checks down to Janae Scott, who's now at running back, and she makes a player miss on a nice juke for a solid gain, but obviously doesn't score. And so now it's 4th and 5 here. Definitely manageable, and Thomas really needs this one. And so here we go. Kiana Cole rolls left and throws it to Giselle Jones, it looks like her defender kind of just slips and falls. And so Jones is wide open. She catches this one, making it 12-13. Now on this key extra point, Cole once again rolls out left and tries to throw it, but it is deflected by Tyler Bryant. And so for now, St. Thomas holds on to a 13-12 lead here. Now St. Thomas on offense looking to possibly extend this lead here. Hollinier on the first play tries to go deep, but it's either tipped or it's just I don't know. It's not thrown correctly here. Something was definitely off as this ball was way underthrown, and Aaliyah Wood comes up with a clutch interception for Thomas to go ahead and give Thomas the ball back just like that past midfield. And so here we go. In the fourth quarter, let's fast forward to the fourth quarter where Thomas has the ball with a chance to retake this lead. Kiana Cole still in at quarterback, third down here. They go ahead and just call a quarterback design run. Tuakol runs it right up the middle, gets them a first down. That puts them in the red zone. Following that, she throws it short to Jones, who gets maybe 3. So that brings up second down. And on second down, Nicole throws the corner to Giselle Jones, who gets a tough catch, honestly, for the touchdown. Just a really good catch by Jones here to take the 18-13 lead. Now on the extra point, though, Cole kind of rolls out left, then decides to scramble, but is stopped short. It looks like by Tashumba Washington and a couple of St. Thomas defenders. And so the extra point's no good, but they still have the 18-13 lead here in the fourth quarter. I believe that is Thomas's first lead of this game. And so here we go. St. Thomas gets the ball back, looking to retake this lead. Holly Neer gets the party started with a couple throws to Parks. The first one goes for a first down. Following that, let's go to third down here. Holly Neer throws the dig to Jada Graham. It's the late window on this dig route throw, and she makes a great catch and also draws a holding penalty from Thomas, and so that's a first down past midfield here. St. Thomas moving the ball well, and then right after that, Holly Neer drops back and threads the needle on the post right in between the safeties to Kaylee Miller for the touchdown here, retaking the 19-18 lead. This was a really, really close throw here as the safeties basically collided with each other right after, because that's how small this window was. But just a great throw by Neher to go ahead and have them take that lead. But on the extra point, she is intercepted by Janae Scott, so extra point is no good. So for now, St. Thomas holds on to a 1-point lead. Now, fourth quarter still. Plenty of time. There's around 8-9 minutes left here. Thomas takes over. Nicole still out running back. She rolls out right and finds Pena. That gives them a first down. That kind of gets them started. Fast forward to second down here. Fast forward to third down here. Cole goes right up the middle, slips a couple defenders, gets about 15 plus yards. That's a first down past midfield on the quarterback design run. Moving on to second down here, Wilson checks back in for a first snap here since the first drive of this second half, I want to say. And Wilson rolls out left and throws an incompletion, but a PI is thrown on St. Thomas, which gives Thomas a first down here in the red zone. But unfortunately, St. Thomas is they're just not giving up a lot here. So unfortunately for Thomas, it does come down to third down here. And on third down, Kiana Cole goes back in at quarterback. Cole tries to throw the fade route here, but it is way short and is actually, it looks like it's about to be easily intercepted by Rayona Baker, but she just drops it, which is really uncharacteristic. And so that brings up fourth down here after an almost interception. And so fourth down, at this point, the 2-minute warning just passed here, and so they go ahead and run the play after that warning, and they put Wilson back in at quarterback. She rolls out right and throws it, but it is too far. It's also very well covered by Rayona Baker, so that's a turnover on downs. St. Thomas, they are in that first quadrant, so they do have quite the field to work with here, but they definitely need a first down. Unfortunately, though, after a direct snap to Parks, it gets a second down, and Neer tries to hand it off to Graham on this end around, but it's just dropped. It just doesn't look like a great handoff, I guess, and maybe there's some sort of miscommunication there, and so that kind of stalls this drive, but there's about 1 minute and 1 second left here. Third down here, Holly Neer tries to throw it over the middle, trying to get this first down, but there's definitely a miscommunication communication as nobody is in the area. In fact, it's almost quadruple covered by Thomas here, and so she's lucky it wasn't intercepted. Instead, they go 3 and out, and they punt it. But the punt is not good either. And so Thomas actually takes over on the edge of the red zone here. They didn't even really get a return. This punt just kind of fluttered before falling out of bounds here. And so Thomas, it kind of feels like, has all the momentum real close with about 50 seconds left here. And so 50 seconds left here. Wilson in at quarterback. She rolls out left, and a player just misses her flag here, which, I mean, that probably would have counted as a tackle for loss. And so instead, she goes ahead and runs and gets a first down in the red zone. Following that, Wilson throws the out to Kiara Knight. That goes for about 5 yards, but there is a flag thrown on Thomas. That'll push them back 5 and repeat first down. At this point, there's about 30 seconds left. And so on first down again, Wilson tries to throw it to Knight, but it is incomplete. That brings up second down, this time with about 24 seconds left. Wilson throws the curl to Giselle Jones, who breaks free as the St. Thomas defender just completely misses her. And it looks like she is about to score, but is luckily stopped short by one of the safeties here. I want to say it's Washington again. And so that brings up 3rd and 5 here. And at this point, Thomas takes their second timeout with about 14.6 seconds left here. And so 3rd and 5 with 14.6 seconds left. Wilson throws towards the left corner under pressure, and it looks like she has an open receiver, but there's just a little bit too much air on this one as it takes her receiver a good amount out of bounds. And so once more, it's 13 seconds left. 4th down here. Thomas goes ahead and takes their last timeout, and they go ahead, coming out of that timeout, they line up, and St. Thomas, they see this, they go ahead and call a timeout after seeing what Thomas lines up in, so hoping to get maybe a little bit of an edge. And so ultimately it comes down to 4th down here. This is the game. Wilson rolls out right, and she's just trying to extend this play and tries to throw it to Nakara Brown, but it is once again just a little bit overthrown as St. Thomas holds strong, and that is game. St. Thomas takes down the last undefeated team in the Sun Conference, giving them their first loss on the season as they win 19-18. St. Thomas now on an 8-game winning streak, on fire so far, and definitely moving up in our power rankings. Thomas, I mean, they fought really hard. They made a couple of changes. Ultimately, they just lost the dogfight. This really could have went either way. I mean, they had 2 red zone trips in like the last 4 minutes of this game, and they had 0 points when all they needed was 1. Technically 2 to go ahead and take the lead. And so they had their chances. They just came up short there here. St. Thomas, though, found a way to get this one done. Player of the game for this one has to be Tashumba Washington. She had that long touchdown to make this, or to get St. Thomas their second touchdown on Thomas in this game. And as most of you listeners know, I mean, Thomas, they haven't allowed a team to score more than once on them, except for St. Thomas, who's done it twice now, and the second time they won. So just keep that in mind. And then and one of those touchdowns was from Washington. And then on top of that, Washington, she did have that big interception to end the half, not allow Thomas to get any points. And we all know Thomas is capable of driving down in, short amounts of time and score, and so that ended up being key. She also had multiple pass deflections that were important. She was part of that group that stopped Connell on the extra point here in the 4th quarter earlier on, which ended up being key since they did win by 1 point. And so she was just all over the place, offense, defense, but I'd say defensively she was key to this one. So there you go. St. Thomas upsets Thomas 19-18. Okay, now real quick, I do want to talk about these Florida Memorial games. Let me start with the one from Thursday, Warner versus Flomo here. Couldn't watch this one, and I couldn't find a playback of this one as it was on that HBCU network, so was at a little bit of a disadvantage, and then couldn't find any information like stats or recaps on it, which is just unfortunate, but just to go ahead and summarize, Warner did beat them 34-6 here. Now, nothing too crazy went on here. I think it went as expected, but I believe Warner's quarterback, Madison Tingen, who has been their starter for the last 2 years, basically suffered a pretty serious knee injury. Haven't gotten a word back on an MRI or anything like that, but it looks like she will be out at least for the foreseeable future. Not going to speculate on that in this segment here, but do just want to put that out there. Then let me talk about the other Flomo game here. This time Florida Memorial played Thomas. It was one of the first games on Saturday the 15th here. I was able to watch this one, or potentially watch it, but I guess it was the wrong link because it definitely didn't show at any time, and I couldn't find any replays. And once again, no stats or recaps, which is unfortunate, but nothing crazy happened in this one. Thomas would defeat them 41-0 in Florida. That is Thomas's second to last game, so boom, there you go there. Moving on from that, though, we do have Warner versus Keiser. Just as a reminder, Madison Tingen did not play this game. I don't know if that would have mattered a whole ton, but I did see her on the sideline. Did have looks like a knee brace on her left knee there, and so we'll see what happens, with her. But regardless, she was not available for this game, and so to start, Jenna Marrero, who usually played running back and did play a little bit of quarterback for Warner, went in as quarterback. And it starts out pretty alright here. Marrero goes ahead and gets his drive started with a nice scramble for a first down. Following a quick drag route to Trinity Kieran that goes for 6 yards, second down here, Jenna Marrero finds Andrea Castillo for the first down past midfield, finding her in the flats, and then she would do the rest. Fast forward to 3rd and 10 here. Jenna Marrero goes deep to Anna Vincenzini, but this one is incomplete. It looks like it's pretty well covered. So that brings up 4th down here. And on 4th down, Marrero tries to throw it over the middle. Looks like she's trying to go for a dig route here, but Sydney Woodman does knock that down. And so that's a turnover on downs, just like that. Now, there are some interesting changes here for Warner on defense. They go ahead and put Cynthia Holmes, and excuse me for saying that wrong, I don't know why, but nobody ever corrected me. Holmes, not Holmes, but they go ahead and put Cynthia Holmes at rusher. She usually plays a linebacker, and so this was definitely something interesting to see here. I want to say Allison Mangiotti and Lexi Mosley were the linebackers. But anyways, here's how this drive gets started here. After a quick slant to Brenna Ramirez and then a pitch to Wagman that goes for 5, it brings up 2nd down. And on 2nd down, Roden just goes ahead and gets that first down to get them past midfield. Following that, Jasmine Roden finds Melina Trinidad on the deep curl route. She goes ahead and reaches out the ball. That gives them a first down in the red zone. Fast forward a couple plays here. It is 3rd and 3 in the red zone. Roden rolls out right and lofts it over the middle just briefly here. It wasn't a long rollout, just a quick little rollout, and then finds Kennedy Foster over the middle for a tough catch and a touchdown, taking the early 6-0 lead. Following that on the extra point, Roden finds Kennedy Foster again, making it 7-0. Now for the second drive here in the first quarter and this game for Warner, they go ahead and sub in Andrea Rodriguez in at quarterback. And I think it's definitely worth noting, Warner, they do have a bunch of quarterbacks. So, and they could all play, so it's not an issue of finding talent at this quarterback position, but they are all freshmen, and so it's more of a matter of just seeing who kind of wins this job right here. And so Andre Rodriguez is now in at quarterback. She's a freshman, like I just said. Jenna Marrero gets moved back to running back, which helps them out a little bit here. But on this first play, Rodriguez finds Marrero, and it's a double pass here because Marrero then throws it to Trinity Kieran on the drag route. That gets them a first down to get things started. Following that, Rodriguez finds Holmes on the slant, who gets about 15 or so yards. That's a first down past midfield. And so Warner is driving here, but then they do kind of stall up a little bit as a couple plays later, it is fourth down on the edge of the red zone. And here's what happens. Fourth down, Rodriguez drops back, throws a beautiful throw over the middle on the post route to Amiri Logan. That would put Warner in the red zone for the first time today on a 20-ish yard play. Following that, Rodriguez drops back, throws the post, this time to the opposite side of the field, finding Andre Castillo for the touchdown, making it 7-6. Extra point is deflected, and so Keiser keeps the lead going into the second quarter. So there you go, Warner responding right away. Now, to start the second quarter, Keiser looks to continue to build on their lead, and that starts with Roden checking it down to Emma Wagaman, her running back, who goes and gets the first down. A play later, second down here, Roden drops back, finds Brenna Ramirez on the out. She goes ahead and gets them a first down past midfield. Following that play, a play later, it is second down here. Roden goes deep down the left sideline, throwing it right before the safety could get there, and finds Sofia Caprio, the freshman, who reels in a nice 20-yard sideline catch. That puts them in the red zone in a pretty good spot here. Moving on to 2nd and 5 here in the red zone, Roden then finds Emma Wagaman on the check down, who avoids a tackler and walks it in, making it 13-6. Extra point is deflected by Anna Vincencini. Now, Warner back on offense with a chance to go ahead and make this once again a 1-point game potentially here, and maybe even tie it. And so it starts with Rodriguez finding Holmes on the slant. That gets them a first down. A couple plays later here, let's go to third down here. Rodriguez goes deep, but Reagan Pellegrino applies good pressure and forces basically a throwaway here, as she throws it a lot sooner than she probably wanted. And so that brings up fourth down, and Warner is forced to punt it. Now, Keiser gets the ball back with a chance to further extend their lead here. This starts with Roden once again dialing another one up deep down the left sideline right before the safety could get there, finding Sofia Caprio for a big 20-plus yard reception. That puts them past midfield. Following that, a double pass to Haley Young. Young finds, I want to say it's Adriana Rodriguez for the first down. That puts them in the red zone just like that. Now, Keiser, they do get a couple really nice plays, but unfortunately, it does come down to a 4th and 1 here. Warner really needing a stop, and here's how it goes down. Roden rolls out left, looks like she's about to pass it, decides to just take it herself, as there is a little bit of a tangle up on this left side of the field, and so she just runs it in pretty easily, making it 19-6. Roden then throws a slant to Adriana Rodriguez, making it 20-6 right here. About a minute 51 seconds left here in the second quarter. Warner really needs to get something before they go or get down by a lot more here. But unfortunately for them, Reagan Pellegrino gets a huge sack on first down. That puts them in a pretty difficult situation. That brings up second down, where once again pressure by Pellegrino forces an incompletion. Third down here, Rodriguez tries to go deep here to Amiri Logan, but it is well covered by Keiser, as they are all there and prevent that pass from happening. And so Warner unfortunately goes 3 and out, which is not really what they need. And then on top of that, they have a pretty bad punt here. Jade McGrain, I want to say, for Keiser, gets a solid return, getting Keiser to the edge of the red zone here with about 50 seconds left. And so not looking good here. For Warner, that is. For Keiser, it's looking great, and it continues to be great, as on the first play, Roden goes deep up the seam to Kennedy Foster, makes a tough catch, almost gets in for a touchdown. We've seen that play before, but is stopped on the 1. And so there you go there, Keiser in the red zone. Let's go ahead and fast forward to third down after a nice pass breakup by Amiri Logan. Third down, about 13 seconds left. Keiser, I want to say, has at least 1 or 2 timeouts left here. But here we go. Roden throws the tough slant to Brenna Ramirez, who brings this one in, making it 26-6. Following that on the extra point, Roden evades Lexi Mosley and throws it to the back of the end zone, finding a receiver. Couldn't quite get the number there, but she makes it 27-6 going into half. At this point, this game is basically over here as Keiser has a pretty big lead. Now, I do want to just talk about some of the scores that would happen in the second half here. In the third quarter, Keiser's Alexis Santiago, I want to say, gets a huge pick six that makes it 33-6 and really puts this one away. Following another failed Warner drive here where they have to turn it over, Roden goes deep to Sofia Caprio that makes it 39-6. In the fourth quarter, a double pass here. Haley Young, finds Kennedy Foster. She makes it 45-6. Couple plays later, a drive later here, Haley Young is just in at quarterback. She finds Adriana Cavallati on the post for a big-time touchdown. That makes it 52-6 as the extra point is also good. And then the last score here, Haley Young goes deep to Adriana Rodriguez, who brings it in between the safeties, and both safeties just kind of whiff on her flag there. And so she just runs it in, making it 58-6. Extra point is no good. And there you go there. Keiser with a big statement win, beating Warner 58-6 here. Player of the game for sure has to be Jasmine Roden. I want to say she had 5 passing touchdowns in this one and was just extremely sharp in this game here. And, Warner just loses one badly here. Obviously, they do have their issues at quarterback, but I want to say only one of those scores was a pick six, and they didn't really turn over the ball too many times after. I want to say they just couldn't get anything going here, as it is difficult to kind of get a quarterback into the swing of things this late in the season and have them find rhythm, especially against a really good squad like Keiser. And so just a tough go for Warner, but definitely a confidence boost for Keiser here. Keiser has 2 games next week against Weber and St. Thomas. I want to say Warner has 2 games as well, but they definitely need to beat Thomas to make it into the Sun Conference tournament, or at least that's what the announcer said. So things are definitely looking a little bit shaky this late in the season for Warner. Moving on to Ottawa versus Bethel here. This one would actually end early, sorry, spoiler alert there. But let me go ahead and talk about what happened before this one ended here. Just a quick summary. To start, Ottawa did force a 3-and-out here, and then Madison Carrera would leave a pretty methodical drive downfield that will end with Carrera finding Courtney Willie, the senior, for a touchdown. Ottawa taking a 6-0 lead as the extra point is no good. Also worth noting, it is senior night for Ottawa in this game. This would be their last home game of the regular season. So there you go. Following that, Bethel just couldn't get anything going, so they end up punting it. So here we go. Ottawa takes over. A huge Madison Carrera scramble would basically get them into the red zone. That went for about 15 plus yards. Following that, Carrera pitches forward a pass to Bailey Hodgins a couple plays later for a touchdown, making it 12-0. Once again, extra point is no good. Fast forward to the second quarter and another Ottawa offensive drive. Carrera finds Maya Quinn wide open downfield, who gets them into the red zone. Thought she might score there, but instead goes for a pretty big, 30, 40-yard-ish play there. It doesn't matter, as Carrera would end up punching it in a couple plays later, running it in, making it 18-0. She would then find Randria Gamble to make it 19-0 after a successful extra point. Let's go ahead and go into the third quarter as Bethel once again continued to struggle, not turning it over, but, just having to punt it. And so here in the third quarter, Carrera uses her legs for the majority of this offensive drive, marching them downfield. That drive would then end with her on the run, throwing a touchdown to the back of the end zone to Maya Quinn. For that touchdown, she would then find Courtney Willie on the extra point, making it 26-0. Unfortunately for Bethel, on the next drive, Abby Brown gets a huge interception there that sets up this Ottawa drive, which does eventually end with Madison Carrera finding Addie Osborne, who makes it 32-0. And then the last scoring drive here before the game ended early. Carrera finds Gamble, who puts on a couple moves, making a number of players miss, making it 38-0 for a long 25-yard touchdown. Carrera then throws a slant to Madison Berg, who makes it 39-0, and that's where it ends, as there was a lightning delay in the third quarter. Ottawa winning pretty handedly, as expected, 39-0 in this one. Madison Carrera, obviously player of the game, having a really sharp game per usual. Moving on here to Kansas Wesleyan versus the University of St. Mary. This time they are playing at St. Mary in Leavenworth. So here we go. I don't know why, but the stream was like not working for the first drive here. All I do know is that Kansas Wesleyan would score on the first drive, get a touchdown and the extra point, making it 7-0 early on. Now the Spires, they would get the ball, but would run into some trouble in Layla Casillan, who got 2 sacks on this drive that would make it pretty difficult here. They would try going for it on fourth down, wouldn't get it, and so Kansas Wesleyan basically gets the ball in the red zone. That drive ended with a Brianna Hernandez-Silva scramble for a touchdown, making it 13-0. Extra point is no good. Once again, the Spires get the ball but aren't able to get anything going, and once again, they go for it on fourth down, and they don't come really anywhere near getting that first down, and so once more, Kansas Wesleyan takes over in Spires territory here, and here's what happens. I believe it comes down to a fourth down, and Brianna Hernandez-Silva rolls out right and throws a touchdown to the right here. Couldn't see the receiver as the camera was just out of focus or just out of frame there, but she makes a 19-0 as the extra point is no good. Fast forward to the second quarter. This game is pretty much kind of getting away from the Spires here, but they do get a promising drive downfield. Unfortunately, though, they do stall out at the edge of the red zone, and so that's where we pick up once again for Kansas Wesleyan here. And here we go. Brianna Hernandez-Silva drops back and finds a wide open number 17. That is Tori. I want to say it's Lodarchik. I want to say. The freshman, excuse me if I'm saying that wrong, still haven't figured out how to say that, but I'm sure that's how you, I don't know. Hey, message us and let us know so that we could say your name right. But number 17, Tori, the freshman, goes ahead, catches this one, and like I said, she's wide open, so she basically walks it in for a long 40-plus yard touchdown, making it 25-0. Extra point is no good. Following that, the Spires, Hooks at quarterback, throws a pick to Lexi Marquez here. Great job by Marquez just reading this one. That sets up Kansas Wesleyan in a great spot in the red zone once more. Following that, Hernandez-Silva rolls out left, which is interesting because she's right-handed, but she throws a beautiful throw to Angel Roman, kind of off her back foot for a big touchdown to make it 31-0. She would then find Angel Roman again, who made it 32-0. At this point, this game is basically over here. Just to talk about a couple more plays that happened in the third quarter, Hernandez-Silva on the option pitches it to Roman, who then pitches it back, who then walks it in for a touchdown. They would also, they would get the extra point, making it 39-0 just like that. In that same third quarter, Hernandez-Silva eventually would go deep on the post route, finding Angel Roman in stride, making it 45-0. In the fourth quarter, they go ahead and sub in Shania Marape. When she's in at quarterback, she finds, it's Angel Roman, eventually on the out route, who makes it 51-0, and I believe that is your final score. Kansas Wesleyan taking care of business, 51-0 here. Player of the game, Brianna Hernandez-Silva. Unfortunately, don't have the stats, but I know she had at least 6 touchdowns. I don't know about that first drive, but, she went to work per usual. Okay, now moving on to our last game here. This was originally scheduled for Saturday the 15th, but it got rescheduled to the 16th, and so that's the date today, the 16th, right after that game. And let's go ahead and talk about it. It is Midland versus Cottey. Midland currently at 8 according to our rankings, Cottey at 12, as of right now. And you know what? There weren't too many surprises, but we'll still talk about this game. This game was in Cottey, or at Cottey. And so let's go ahead and hop into this one. Midland starts with the ball. Michaela Nunez starting quarterback for them. Also, just going to throw this out there. I believe it was senior day for Cottey. Right now, they only have one senior over there, I believe, and that is one of their quarterbacks, Jennifer Haberstock, so she would get the original start. But like I said, Midland starts with the ball here. It does come down to a 4th and 3 situation after a drop and a couple of short plays here. And I do want to note that it is really windy. Like, the audio was basically just all wind, and so I think there was maybe a little bit of difficulty throwing the ball, just a little bit. It wasn't always on the money and whatnot, so those were those early struggles that brought up this 4th and 3 situation. It doesn't matter, as you know, Michaela Nunez just goes ahead and runs it herself for about 13 yards and gets the first down into that second quadrant there. Now, couple plays later, 3rd down here. Nunez scrambles around before pitching it to a running back. Pretty sure that is Jocelyn Lopez, the freshman, who goes ahead and gets a nice first down pass to midfield here, making a couple players miss. A play, or the next play here, Michaela Nunez hits Olivia Dominguez-Millsap on the slant, who gets a good gain of about 20, I want to say, to go ahead and put them in the red zone. Midland on fire early on here. And then a play or two later to end that drive, Michaela Nunez scrambles left to put them up 6-0 with 6 minutes 30 seconds left here in the first quarter. On the extra point, Michaela Nunez goes right before pitching it to a running back who gets the job done. That's Jocelyn Lopez, making it a 7-0 game. Now, about 6:28 left here for Cottey in the first quarter. Jennifer Haberstock, the senior, gets out there to start here, and they start out pretty well. She throws an out route to Angie Cruz, who makes a couple players miss, gets a good gain, also draws a holding penalty on Midland, and so that's a pretty good gain of almost 20, I want to say, if you do include the penalty yards. And so it's about 1st and 5 near midfield here. 1st and 5, Haberstock then finds Shamis Lee on the drag for a first down past midfield. Following that, Haberstock tries to go deep. It's just a bit out of reach, and so that's incomplete. Next play on 2nd down, she gets sacked by Sydney Red, one of the best rushers in the country. So that brings up a tough 3rd down situation. And on 3rd down, Haberstock goes deep to the post route. That's to Shamis Lee. And it looks like she momentarily brought it in, maybe got in a couple of steps, but a Midland defender was able to rip that ball out there. So she wasn't able to, I guess, complete the process of the catch. And so that was pretty tough, as it was on the money there. So that brings up a 4th down, and Cottey is forced to punt it. And so when Midland gets the ball, there's about 3:36 left here. And here's what happens on 1st down. Nunez scrambles around before just pitching it to a running back, Lopez, who goes and gets a pretty sizable gain and a first down past midfield, about on a 15-yard run. Fast forward a play here, 2nd down, Nunez rolls right, trying to draw the defense in, and she does draw one defender, and she finds Diva Jones near the sideline for a first down to put them in the red zone. Going into 3rd down here, fast forwarding to 3rd down here, Michaela Nunez drops back, makes a linebacker and a DB miss here, just dropping those hips and, being very evasive there, and runs it in for the touchdown right up the middle, making it 13-0. Extra point is no good. Now, let's just fast forward to the second quarter here. Cottey does have the ball here, but it just doesn't go out well. Just a couple drops here, some inaccurate throws. So we have, I want to say, 3 incompletions in a row, including one on 3rd and 6 where it looked like she might have had a receiver, but maybe it was the wind or it was just her, but she kind of overshoots it, and so they have to go 3 and out. And so Midland gets the ball with about 10:50 left here, and their drive doesn't start well for them, as it starts with a Carry-On Cloyd sack. So that brings up a tough 2nd down where they do throw the slant to Casey Thompson. She gets about 5. Not enough for a first down, so that brings up 3rd down here. Nunez scrambles right here, but is stopped basically at the line by a couple Cottey linebackers. I believe Kenzie Murdoch was in that one. And so that brings up 4th and 5 here, and they are kind of on the edge of the red zone, so they go for it here. So here we go, 4th and 5. Nunez drops back, has a wide open receiver in the end zone. She launches it. It's in her hands, but the receiver drops it. So that's kind of a tough go, because not only would that have been enough, more than enough, for a first down in the red zone, but it was definitely a touchdown. And so that's dropped. That's a turnover on downs. And Cottey, they go back on only down 13-0. They make a quick change here back to Amaya Korula with about 8 minutes 50 seconds left here. And so on first down for Korula, she throws a swing route, but that is stopped pretty much at the line, if not for maybe a slight loss by Olivia Dominguez-Millsap. That brings up second down. Korula finds Goodridge, Daniela Goodridge, on the slant. That goes for about 5, bringing up 3rd and 6. But on 3rd and 6, Korula drops back and is sacked by Sydney Red. I want to say that is her second of the day. That forces another 3-and-out on Cottey, who is just struggling on offense today, outside of that first drive. Now, Midland, they get the ball with about 6:20 here in the second quarter. Here is how it goes down. Fast forwarding to 3rd and 6. Nunez hits Olivia Dominguez-Millsap on the comeback route. Nice throw, nice catch for a first down in the red zone here. Now, first out in the red zone, Nunez throws the post, but there is a PI thrown, and so they're going to repeat first down, but they're going to move up a couple yards. So now it's 1st and 10 here in the red zone. And so first down, Nunez pitches it to Jocelyn Lopez, who gets a couple yards, but takes a hit here. And so she is stopped short, and obviously a penalty comes out on Cottey. And so that moves up Midland again. So it's second down again. And this time Nunez just rolls left, looks for a receiver, and finds one in her favorite target, Casey Thompson, right over the middle to make it 19-0. On the extra point, Nunez scrambles right, gets in for the extra point, but a holding call on Midland would basically take that away. And so, for now, Midland leads 13-0. Now, Cottey, not quite out of it, but they definitely need something from their offense. And so, 3:57 left, Korula goes in. There's 2 straight incompletions here. That brings up 3rd and 4. And on 3rd down, Korula sacked by Olivia Dominguez-Millsap. That's another 3-and-out, a 3rd straight 3-and-out for Cottey here. And so here is what happens after that. About 2 minutes left here once Midland gets the ball, and after an incompletion, so the 2-minute warning just went. So under 2 minutes left, second down, Nunez goes deep and has a wide open Alyssa Butler for about a 20-ish yard touchdown to make it 25-0. Extra point is no good, but this game is basically over as Cottey just struggles to score and match Midland here. Now, I'm just going to quickly summarize the scores following that. In the third quarter here, with a short field to work with, Nunez finds Steva Jones for a touchdown. She makes it 31-0. That was with 5 minutes left in the third. Couple drives later, Nunez would eventually end a drive by pitching it to Jocelyn Lopez, who walks it in, making it 37-0 with 20 seconds left in the third. And then the last score here came in the fourth quarter. Nunez checks it down to Jocelyn Lopez, who brings it 40 yards to the house. Just a great play by her, making it 43-0. The extra point is good as well, making it 44-0 with 6:28 left. And that would be your final score. Midland defeating Cottey 44-0, taking care of business here. Player of the game, I think for sure has to be Sydney Red. Don't have the exact stats, unfortunately. I know she did have at least 2 sacks in that first half, which were huge in, just stalling Cottey there and stopping those drives. So absolutely love to see that. All right, so there you go. Those are all the games from this week 9 here. Now, let's go ahead and talk about some of the players of the game and go ahead and talk about Playmaker of the week here. I am just going to say this ahead of time. I wasn't able to watch every game for one reason or another. They weren't shown, even though there was a stream link provided, and sometimes there weren't replays. And I also don't have a whole ton of stats this week, wasn't the best week for stats, I ain't gonna lie, but we're gonna work with what we have. So I'm just gonna review all the players of the games real quick here, starting with that St. Mary versus Cottey game here. Cottey won that one. Player of the game, Carrie Cloyd here. She had at least 3 sacks and a 27-0 win. Also the first time, or I guess second time, Cottey has beat a conference opponent twice here, having an improved season for sure. So there you go. One of the games where, unfortunately, I just don't have stats or a recap and I wasn't able to watch it was that Warner FMU game. So we're going to skip that one and go to the Thomas versus St. Thomas game here. In that upset, player of the game absolutely has to be Tashumba Washington. Had a touchdown, had a big-time interception, also had multiple pass deflections, and had a key stop on an extra point in a 19-18 win over former number 1 Thomas. And so there you go, Tashumba Washington, a big part of that dub. Moving on to Thomas versus FMU. This was a game that, once again, wasn't shown. I don't know why. There's a stream link, but it wasn't shown there. And so there you go there. We'll move on to Warner versus Keiser here. Keiser winning big. Player of the game absolutely has to be Jasmine Roden. She was on one this game. Extremely sharp. Got it done there and took care of business. Ottawa versus Bethel. Ottawa obviously won this game here. Player of the game, I believe I said Madison Carrera. So there you go there. Per usual, I mean, you know, she's been a big part of that team and has been putting forth an MVP effort for sure. Now, fast forwarding here to St. Mary versus Kansas Wesleyan. Kansas Wesleyan won. Brianna Hernandez Silva once again did her thing, scored at least 6 touchdowns. Stream went out to start, so I don't know who scored that first one, but I'm sure she was involved in that in some way. And then finally, we have Midland versus Cottey here. My player of the game has to go to Sydney Red. Had at least 2 sacks in that game, but also just had constant pressure and did a really good job getting a shutout here for Midland. But as you know, there could only be one Playmaker of the week, and so your Week 9 Playmaker of the week has to be the St. Thomas defensive back, Tashumba Washington here, DB/receiver. I mean, look, that's a huge upset. You got to play good defense against Thomas, and you also got to score against a really good defense. She did both. Got a touchdown, got a pick, got multiple stops and pass deflections. I mean, there were some plays where honestly it just came down to her against whoever was on Thomas, and they got plenty of great players over there, and she came through. So absolutely has to go to Tashumba Washington, getting another or contributing to another big time upset for St. Thomas. Okay, now let's talk power rankings here, because there's definitely some changes here. I didn't think this week would have so many shakeups, but there were. And so let me start with the power rankings from last week, week 8 here. Starting at the bottom here, Milligan at 15, 14 Bethel, 13 St. Mary, 12 Cottey, 11 Campbellsville, 10 Reinhardt, 9 Florida Memorial, 8 Midland, 7 Kansas Wesleyan, 6 Weber, 5 Warner, 4 St. Thomas, 3 Keiser, 2 Ottawa, and then at number 1 was Thomas. All right, so let's start with the top here, because I feel like the last couple weeks it's really just been kind of that bottom part of these power rankings that really changed up a lot here. But finally, we got some pretty significant movement at the top. And by the way, myself and Cottey, we talked about these. Cottey really, I guess, pondered these over for a while here. And, you know, we'll talk about our reasonings for sure. But at number 1 right now has to be Ottawa. First things first, they're the last undefeated team in the country. Now, you could argue about their strength of schedule and all that stuff, but undefeated is undefeated. And regardless, I mean, they're also the defending national champs, and so all that stuff goes their way. They are back at number 1 right now, after, you know, being briefly dethroned by Thomas for a couple weeks. So there's change number 1. At number 2 is where Thomas is going to be. So Ottawa 1, Thomas 2. Look, watch that game against St. Thomas. You know, it was a 1-point game. They had their opportunities. I mean, they had 2 red zone trips, in the last 3 minutes? Here, let me check real quick here. They definitely had at least one and plenty of time. It's not like they ran out of time. They just didn't get it done when it came down to it, which, is arguable on which is worse. But yes, they had 2 red zone trips here. They had 2 red zone trips with less than 3 minutes left. So this was definitely winnable here. It just didn't go their way. And I mean, look, it's the Sun Conference, the toughest conference for women's college football right now. And I don't think that changes. I mean, on any given day, any team could beat the other one. That's how talented it is. That talent gap is extremely close. Most of the time, it either comes down to whether it's a player's day or the coaching, and whether the coaches make the right decisions. Which obviously hindsight is 2020 here, but I mean honestly, at the end of the day, Thomas just didn't get it done this time around. And so, with that being said, that is their first loss, and a 1-point loss to St. Thomas, who I believe made our top 4 last week. So they were the 4th-ranked team. That's not bad at all. I think you live with that. We're not going to put St. Thomas over Thomas, because Thomas still beat them by 2 scores earlier on in the season. So there's that. So right now their record is 1-1, and so for now Thomas is gonna stay above those squads, and they're just gonna move down a step here. If that game was replayed again, I'm sure there would be a couple of times where they would win. I'm not going to say 5 out of 5 times or 10 out of 10 times or anything like that. But, they definitely had their chances. At the end of the day, they just couldn't get it done. It felt like kind of an off day for Alexa Wilson. She had to be taken out for Kiana Cole, who just provided a little bit more mobility and just a little bit more stability to this team in the moment. And you know what? That's just something that you're going to learn from. I don't think there's a quarterback controversy. Alexa Wilson is going to stay the starter. And regardless, she's going to have to learn from that, And honestly, it's probably best, especially for players like Alexa Wilson, like younger freshmen, to go ahead and get that one loss out of the way. Because what you don't want to do is get to the playoffs, get to the national tournament, or even the Sun Conference tournament, and then you're undefeated, so all that pressure's built up, and if you lose, that's it, So you don't want to do that. So it's arguably good that they got that one loss out of the way right now. And it was to a good team. It wasn't like there were like a million mistakes or anything like that. I mean, they did what they could. They were in a position to win it. They just couldn't get it done in those last 3 minutes. It happens, right? It happens. Defensively, I think you could still be happy with them. I mean, they got a pretty big time 3-and-out here to even get another chance with about 56 seconds left, which was absolutely huge. And yeah, I mean, if you're just looking at some of these other plays, that last touchdown that Holly Neer threw, I mean, the safeties were both on that. She just threaded the needle extremely well, and I mean that's why the safeties ran into each other, because that's how small that window was. So it happens. Losses happens. For now, Thomas is at 2, Ottawa stays at 1. Now at number 3, this might be surprising to some, but me and Cottey talked about it a couple times over here. Cottey definitely thought about it. He said he really kind of struggled with this decision, but there's going to be a new number 3 team. I feel like the last couple, basically since the start of the season, it's been Thomas, Ottawa, and Keiser in some sort of order. But the new number 3 team right now is St. Thomas here. Look, knocking off the number 1 squad in the country, or at least ranked at the time of the country, at least warrants you moving up a spot, which is tough because Keiser just had a big win over Warner, which we'll talk about here later. And so we're going to move up St. Thomas for now. I mean, looking at their schedule and all that, they have 3 losses. One of them was to Thomas, which, now they're 1-1 because they beat them, so there you go. Another one was to Weber, and that was just an ugly loss. You can't make any excuses for that one. They made a quarterback change after that, and then they played Keiser following that quarterback change and they only lost 20-12. That was a winnable game. They had their chances. They just came up short. And so going into this week here, and I'm just going to spoil it, Keiser's at 4. They didn't drop that far down. But going into this week, St. Thomas does play Keiser on Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern time. And so hopefully I'll be back to... I'll be working that morning, but I'll definitely be back in time to watch that game live and whatnot. So that'll be huge. And so Keiser right now, they're at 4, but they definitely have an opportunity to move back up to 3, at least in our power rankings, by beating St. Thomas again. So they're going to have that opportunity. St. Thomas, they're going to also have the opportunity to keep this 3 spot for now. So boom, there you go there. Now, at 4 is Keiser. I am going to talk about them. I mean, look, had a great game against Warner. This talent gap between them, St. Thomas, some of the other teams in the Sun Conference as well, isn't as big as some might think. I think there are definitely days they could beat them, any other team. They just got to be on it, you know. And against Warner, I mean, this Keiser offense was on fire. They were great. Jasmine Roden's great. You kind of just assume they're going to turn it on even more as the season goes on. Obviously, you have Kennedy Foster, who's doing her thing. In my personal eyes, she is the best receiver in the country and is probably going to get my vote unless something happens here. I can't speak for the NAIA football guys or Cottey or you, the fans, who will also get to vote as well. But for me, she probably has my vote. We'll see what happens these next couple weeks. And so, boom, there you go there. Also, add in some freshman standouts. Sophia Caprio, she's been doing her thing as well. You know, she's been big time, especially at the beginning of the season. But in this game as well, she showed that, you know, she's tough to cover. And then also throw in Brenna Ramirez, who's extremely tough to cover as well. You know, has played a handful of games here, but is an injection of energy into the squad and gives them a little bit more of an edge as well. And then shout out to this defense too, who played extremely well and has been playing extremely well. Reagan Pellegrino, Sydney Woodman as well, doing her thing there. Samaya Bryant. Oh, and then Emma Wagenman as well on offense. My bad. Going back to her. She's been huge for this offense. And so really on any given day, this Keiser team could outscore anybody in the country. I believe that on any given day. Now, how consistent they are moving forward, it varies, right? It definitely varies. This week, almost near perfect, to be honest with you. I can't really nitpick too much, honestly. So right now they're at 4. Like I said, Keiser will have a chance to move back up to 3 at the very least by beating St. Thomas again. That way they'll be 2-0 against them. And I'm also going to throw this out there because I'm going to throw this out there. They play Weber first on Wednesday, and you want to know who's behind Keiser right now at 5 is Weber. And Weber right now is at 5. They're moving ahead of Warner as Warner drops here. And that's a combination of a couple of things. So Weber will have a chance to beat Keiser. Will they? You know, we'll see. I think in the Sun Conference, definitely anything could happen. Things could definitely get crazy. But Weber's moving up. A lot of it is because of just how bad, Warner lost, which is not to take anything away from Weber here. I mean, in their last game, they lost to Thomas only 19-6, which wasn't even that bad. I mean, we've seen what Thomas done to some other teams here, and so, you know, I'm not too mad at that. I'm really not too mad at that, honestly. And, I mean, just looking at this as well, Weber has only lost to Keiser, Warner one time, 31-18, Thomas, and St. Thomas. So there you go. 3 of those teams are ranked ahead of them, which I think is very much fair. And then 1 is Warner, who is behind them right now. But Weber, they're going to get a chance to play Warner, so that'll be a chance for Warner to move up. But they'll also play Keiser, and so there will be a chance for them to move up, as this is the last I believe, week of the regular season here in the Sun Conference. And so there you go. But for now, Weber moves up to 5 here. Now at 6 is going to be Warner. Look, they were at 5 last week. They just moved down 1 spot here. I mean, they let Keiser score 56 points on them. And there's a lot of things that you could go into for sure. Let's start with probably the biggest story here, Madison Tingen. Is she going to be able to return this season? From what I've heard, and from what it seems like, it looks like it's a knee injury. Some are saying it's severe. That obviously doesn't sound good. I keep hearing that word thrown around, so I don't know how much meaning there is to that, because I know, or at least I don't think she's had an MRI yet. But I mean, if you keep saying it's a severe knee injury, then it sounds pretty serious. And so I would probably say, and this is my inner sports and exercise science degree going to work here, I'd probably say if it really is something that is relatively serious and does require an MRI, at best, you could probably hope that it's a sprain, maybe just a really serious sprain, and maybe she will be ready by the time the tournament comes around. The national tournament comes around, not the Sun Conference tournament. You could probably consider her out for that already, which is in like 2 weeks, that Sun Conference tournament. The national tournament is in about a month. That's about 4 weeks. I don't know what her mobility might look like at that point and how comfortable it is, but she could be available for that. And so I think that's probably best case scenario. If it's any sort of tear or partial tear, she's done for the season. That's just how it is. At this point, you probably don't want to risk a bigger tear if it is a partial tear as well. And so that news is definitely big time, because right now she is the most experienced quarterback on that Warner roster. And now Warner, they have like 4 or 5 quarterbacks outside of Madison Tingen. The rest are freshmen, and it's not like the rest got a whole bunch of playing time here. You kind of saw in this game against Keiser, they tried a couple different combinations, so we'll see. I mean, Jenna Marrero was thrown in there, but obviously if you throw Jenna Marrero in at quarterback, then you don't have running back that you could get creative with and have someone who could catch checkdowns and be really good at that. I'm sure you could just put a receiver there, but it does kind of limit you to a degree, so you got to keep that in mind. And then you have Andrea Rodriguez. I thought she did pretty all right. That first drive when she scored was definitely promising. She definitely has talent. I mean, I believe all these quarterbacks, right, have talent. The biggest concern is just maturity and experience. None of them are going to have a whole ton of experience, so you're just going to hope that they're mature enough to continue to learn and handle the pressure well. And so it's going to be a tough decision for that Warner coaching staff. I definitely don't envy them, but the uncertainty around that quarterback position right now, this late in the season, I would say is definitely worth dropping them at least to 1 spot. Add on a really bad loss to Keiser, which, wasn't really on the quarterback. They had 1 pick 6, and then I want to say I watched most of that game. I don't think they had too many turnovers, like interceptions, in general. And so it was a pretty clean game. But I mean, if your defense is going to allow 56 points, your defense isn't hurt. Madison Tingen doesn't play both ways. And so it's definitely inexcusable for your defense to play like that. Obviously, it got away, and Keiser, they were continuing to do their thing, and they're a high-powered offense for sure. So, you could still take off 20 points, but even then, that's 36 points. Your defense is going to have to do better, especially with the quarterback position influx. You're going to have to do better to win these games and be in these games. And so, look, every team has a bad week. They're only moving down 1 spot for now. Warner will have a chance to move up as, they play Thomas, so there's that. If they could beat Thomas, that would be wild. I ain't gonna lie, especially without their quarterback, because they terrorize veteran QBs. So we'll see how that goes. And then following that, they play Weber. Both teams ranked ahead of them, so there will be opportunities for them to move up. I feel like, for the most part, in this top 6, outside of Ottawa, of course, all these top Sun Conference teams will have an opportunity to definitely move up. That also includes FMU, who stays at 9. I ain't gonna lie, I kind of expected them to maybe win a little bit more at this part of the season, so right now they are sitting tight at 9. Obviously, if they win, it just kind of depends how they do it, and how that game goes, and they'll be able to move up potentially. As of right now, they have one more game left here in this upcoming week against St. Thomas at Miami Gardens. Well, I guess it would be there regardless. So there you go. But still, they will have their chance there. The first time they played St. Thomas, they only lost 13-7. So basically, any of these Sun Conference teams will have a chance to move up this week. So things will definitely get interesting. Now, let's go ahead and talk about a little bit of the KCAC here. There's not really too much to talk about. At number 1 is Ottawa. At least I don't foresee them moving down unless they lose. And they have 2 away games here in this last week of the regular season. And so they play the University of St. Mary in Leavenworth. That should obviously be a big time dub. And then they play Midland on Saturday, 6 p.m. In Nebraska. So that we'll see how that goes. That could definitely affect how that game goes and whatnot. Midland played them relatively well. It doesn't show too much in their score. But if Midland could find a way to win, obviously they'll be moving up and whatnot, and Ottawa will be moving down. But other than that, Ottawa is pretty much locked in right here at 1, unless they lose here in this last week of the regular season. Now, moving on to Kansas Wesleyan, who is currently sitting right here at 7 here. They've had some good games. They beat Midland again, which I think was a big one just to, go ahead and get. They played them in a thriller, 120-18. They won a little bit more, a little bit more handedly, 21-7 there. Now, they play a couple of squads left here, but they're definitely favored in all of them. Heston College, so there you go, which, in general, I don't usually take those colleges in mind when I'm, judging and whatnot about who's winning and who's not winning. And then they go ahead and in terms of power rankings, that's what I meant. And then the last couple games, they play Cottey and St. Mary. Those are probably both games they should definitely win here. So there you go there. Not too much of an opportunity for them to move up here into the KCAC tournament. And you know what? We'll probably do power rankings through the tournament or through the conference tournaments, as both the Sun Conference and KCAC tournament will be going on at the same time, I'm pretty sure. So we'll see how that goes. But there you go there. Unless there's any upsets this week, I think the rest should pretty much stay the same. Reinhardt and Campbellsville, they do not have a conference tournament, at least not yet. I know Reinhardt will be joining the Sun Conference next year. Campbellsville, they do not. I'm pretty sure they are finished up for the most part, I want to say. They got some dubs up north in Wisconsin, so congrats to them. Campbellsville, that is. Reinhardt, their season is pretty much wrapped up. They are preparing for the NAIA football finals, which, by the way, Cottey will be at in Atlanta, Georgia. That is May 18th to 20th. Cottey will be there live, catching some of those games live, so make sure you say hi to him and all of that great stuff. But there you go. Once again, to go through your Week 9 power rankings, at number 1 right now is Ottawa, 2 Thomas, 3 St. Thomas, 4 Keiser, 5 Weber, 6 Warner, 7 Kansas Wesleyan, 8 Midland, 9 Florida Memorial Flomo, 10 Reinhardt, 11 Campbellsville, 12 Cottey, 13 St. Mary, 14 Bethel, and 15 is Midland. So those are your power rankings for Week 9 as we do head into the last week of the regular season. Alright, now thank you so much for rocking with us. This felt like a really short episode, but I feel like there are a lot of blowouts. So there you go. But anyways, thank you so much for rocking with us. I don't know if I said this. I want to make sure I put this out there. But to all the players who are currently hurt or whatnot, hoping you have a speedy recovery and all that great stuff, because the real fun begins, I would say, in the postseason, because there's a little bit more of a, I guess, fun atmosphere, heightened atmosphere, more pressure. It's definitely fun. And so to all the players who are hurt, hoping you get better, continue to work at it, wishing you all a speedy recovery and whatnot. I know I talked about Madison Tingen and her knee injury a ton. I really hope for her to have a speedy recovery. But, you got to do what you got to do as well, because she is only a sophomore. So, but obviously in her corner for sure. But really excited to cover the rest of the season. Going into this last regular season, I mean, hey, it's going to be hype. There's going to be some games that will matter, that will affect our power rankings, that will affect who makes conference tournaments and whatnot, which we will talk about on next week's episode. We'll talk about these games, obviously recap them, and talk about how those impacted, who made what conference tournament and all of that great stuff, as we should pretty much have all the information by then on who's going to the conference tournaments, participating in those, because I'm sure those will pretty much affect maybe some of the seeding in that national tournament. But thank you so much for rocking with us. Leave us a like, a comment, a good review if you are listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We really appreciate those. If you're on YouTube, which I know we do have a lot of YouTube listeners, thank you so much. Go ahead, leave us a comment. Who do you think is going to win the KCAC, Sun Conference, and eventually win that national tournament? Call her right now. Call her shots right now before we hop into all that stuff. So there you go. And if you want to follow us for more updates on episodes and scores and all that great stuff, go ahead and, follow us at Playmakers Corner on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, all that great stuff. And if you want us to repost anything as well, we definitely want to continue to grow this sport, especially I'm just going to talk personally. Here in Colorado, we have a very big Colorado fan base, as we do cover Colorado high school football in the fall. We want to make sure that those fans go ahead and get to see some great highlights and all that stuff. And so if you have anything, send it our way and we'll make sure to repost it and support you best we can. But once again, thank you so much for rocking with us. Best of luck to all the teams going into this last week of the regular season. Stay healthy, compete, and we will catch you later.